Hello, welcome to Cat Studio. Today we're working on watercolor painting and it will be a little bit of something like this. Really beautiful flowers that I love painting. They never turn out the same, so let's have a go at it. It's pretty simple. What I'm starting with today is my Grabby watercolor paints. I've already color swatched all of them. Come in a nice little container like this. And my watercolor pad by the same brand. It's 100% cotton, cold pressed paper. And it's what size is this? It's like 8.3 by 5.8, so about 8 by almost 6. All right, so let's get started. What I like to do when I start a watercolor painting is I like to decide what colors I want to use and make sure they go together as far as mixing colors together. So you have to be a little bit careful. Your pinks and blues are really good together. Your reds and oranges are good together. Your greens and blues. Purples and pinks, I think, is what I usually pick, but let's do something different today. Let's try red, the hint of yellow and orange, and maybe I will throw in some black in there. And that black does not look as black as it really comes out. So let's get started. So what I'm going to do today is pick the red that I want. I'm going to turn this. All right, I want to turn my watercolors around so their reds are closer to me. I don't want any drips. I take my little water brush. I use a water brush and I also use a flat, really cheapo brush. And maybe sometimes I might sneak this one in or this really pointy number 2. And the paints come with a set of watercolor brushes, the thin ones. So we're going to start by getting our color wet that we want to use today, and I'm going to go with the scarlet red, which I'm just going to dribble water into that and let that sit for a minute. And then I'm going to add to that a little bit of the orange. Is that orange? Orange. And then maybe a hint of the bright yellow. And we're going to need some black. So I'm going to let that sit for a second, because what we're going to do is we're going to paint dots. And you can do this 2 ways, where you can get your paper wet first, which will go with that first off, where you want the flowers. And this is how I decide where the flowers are going to go. I've already got this mat. I just cut this mat out of a piece of cardstock, and I like to try and maybe even that up on the back here. And then turn it over, and what you can do is take a little pencil and draw a line, which you can erase later. I only have one pencil, it's in my compass. So we're just gonna put a little tick mark at the top, bottom, and the sides, so that we can keep our flowers flowing in that area. If you go too far off to the side, you won't see the flower when you put the mat on it. So I think the rules of odd numbers is how I go when I paint flowers usually. So I want to start, and I'm going to probably either do 1 or 3. I don't know. It depends on how the first one goes. So I'm going to take my pointy brush, get it really wet, go into my red paint, my scarlet red, and grab, I have to show you how I'm doing this. I just want to grab a whole bunch of paint on that brush. And I'm going to put a dot right where I want the flower to end, right there. And I get some more of that paint because I feel like I need more. Oh, I forgot to get the paper wet. We'll do that in a minute. And I'm going to put a little hint of the orange off to one side. Just let it drip in there. You want it to be pretty wet. So then we're going to take a little yellow, which I just got my orange paint in. And I want it a little bit wetter than that. And a drop of yellow, because yellow, you have to be careful, can take over your painting. So that's where we start. And I want to, I kind of wanted my paper wet before we started. So let's go ahead and get that wet and we just start moving that paint around to form a bit of a flower. And we don't need to go crazy on this. You can just touch it in there and let it flow where it wants to go. Pull it out if you need to. Just keep re-dipping my brush when I want to go into a cleaner section of the paint. If I want this bigger, I'm just going to go and get it wet up top. Pretty simple. So that, I feel like that has quite a lot of dimension in that flower. I'm going to let that sit for a little bit. And because we have the lighter section, could be the back of the flower, and this could be the front section here. And I don't want to touch it. Once you love it, don't touch it. And I've even done flowers where I've gone in and softened up all the edges. Oh, and that's just like dry off your brush and then go in, soften that out. So there's no hard edges on that flower. Unless you like those, you could just leave them in there. It's perfectly fine. And I want to wipe that out because I didn't like that. Okay, so that's how we do that. Let's put another flower in, and I'm going to face this one. This one's facing up to the left corner, and let's face the other one from here out or even down. It depends on how it goes. Let's get our paper wet first for this flower. Kind of tell it where to go before we put the paint on. We might even sneak in a little bit of another color after we get the flowers in, just to represent petals or leaves. So a little bit more red. You can change the colors up too. You can pick a different red if you think you want a darker red or whatever. So just drop that in there and it's going to start moving on its own. You can see that. Go with our orange. I like to put the orange in the darker area, which would be down here, and the lighter would be closer to the top where the sun would be shining. And a little yellow. So we're just dotting our paper. We're just touching it with the paint. You can let it drip in there if you like. So I'm going to turn my paper. Nobody said you can't do that. I'm just going to go and start moving that color. Careful with the yellow. I don't want to start there. I want to start with the orange. And I might need more red in this one. We'll see. You can see I'm just touching my paper with a not super wet brush. You can do this, guys. I have confidence in you. You can do this. I did a whole painting of these types of flowers, just all in a like an 8 by 10 or a 14 by 11 or something to that effect size. And sometimes I just take the petals out to the edge here. It depends on how I'm feeling when I look at it. I think that's really beautiful, just like that. So again, I said, leave it if you love it. And I feel like I need a little more red in here. So I'm just gonna pop that in and let it kind of move a little bit. Kind of tell it where to go and see what happens. It's all about experimenting, not being afraid to just put your paint down. It's probably the most scariest part is just getting your paint on your paper. And then what do you do with it once you get it there? And I'm used to painting with alcohol inks, which, trust me, they have a mind of their own. For real. They do. So before I ruin this, I think I'm gonna stop in a minute. I don't like that dot, so I'm just gonna take my almost dry brush and move that a little bit. More water for that. There we go. Oh, now I think it looks cool. So let's leave that alone for a minute. And one more flower. I think we need one going either facing straight down, I'm not sure, or one coming up towards those two. I kind of like that look here. How this one, it looks like it's in the background, flourishing out. So let's try that. A little more red. And I think we're gonna not add the water to this one. I kind of like that look of that one better. So where I want this to end, probably down here. I might add a little drop of water to that. Get some orange in there. So easy, really, guys. Just grab some orange paint, some red paint, and some yellow, and just play with it. So drop it in there, and then move it. Move it around. It doesn't matter where you put your dots either. You could just put one dot and move that. I just like the different colors all blended together. So there we have that. Let's get our brush, clean water, dip in the clean, touch it on my towel, and then just start moving that around. Sometimes they just, you know, I let the painting speak to me if it's moving in the wrong direction. I don't know. And there's a petal. Ooh, that's a cool one. Love that. And I might take this one all the way down. We'll see. I just, you know, I don't really have a plan when I start. I just start. And when the paints start moving, that's when I start feeling like I know what I'm doing. And I think I've always been that kind of an artist where I don't usually have a plan. And if that's bad, I don't know. I hope it isn't. Put more than a drop in there. I think that is perfect. Too much here. Yeah, okay. That's a pretty flower too, isn't it? So where the black comes in is when this has started to dry a bit. I have to look at it. If it's too wet, it'll just whoosh, fly everywhere. We don't want that. We just want it at the very ends. I'm going to try and fix this flower a little bit. Try not to be too fussy about it, but there we go. That's better. I'm going to smooth out the edge of this one with almost a dry brush. So it sort of blends into the background. Sometimes you can't get it. All right, so that is really, really cool looking right now. So I did dip in the black paint. Oops. Okay, let's go and take a look and see if we're dry enough yet. I have a big dollop there of wet paint. I don't want to drop black into that because it will cause a disaster. So let's go with this one here, and I like to put the black in sort of in a half moon shape. You always know when you start dropping it in. if it's gonna work or not. A little water to that. I am trying to get it to blend slightly. A little more red in that area. Take that up a bit. It's all about playing and seeing what, you know, happens when you put your paint on your canvas. Let's put a little down here. That's better than this one, isn't it? Yep. Oops. I'm gonna try and fix that one, so let's see if I can get wet. Paper towel. A little more red paint there. I mean, you can't always fix everything, but you know, for the most part, watercolor will lift, you know, when you re-wet it. Yellow. I think I'm going to take my brush back through that. Pretend I'm putting a flower over a flower. That's not terrible. It's not my favorite flower that I've ever made. Just saying. I'm going to blend this one into that one a little bit. Okay. So that's about it almost. I want to put a little bit of color for leaves. And I think I'm going to go with the something in the brown family. I know leaves aren't brown, but they might be today. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the brown, what's it called? Raw umber. Oops, wrong one. My puppies, I'm going to go with Van Dyke brown and some red. A little bit of the scarlet with the brown. I'm going to pop a little bit of a dollop here. Again, I need more paint. Here. Maybe a dollop here. Let that kind of flow out. And let's move that and see what happens. I just want a hint of maybe that might be a leaf, and maybe it might just be background color. It could be anything. All right, so then, and this isn't dry enough yet to do our little wax situation. So let's see, I'll just dab that with a paper towel. Okay, then I'm just gonna, let's see, if I decide that I can turn that flower, the jurisdiction of that flower is gonna go the other way. A little bit like that. So I'm gonna put my half moon shape this way. There, I think that turned out lovely. So I kind of wait for this to dry before I start pulling. You can see how this flower up here has the sharper edges. All the softness in here is beautiful as well. And I don't know if we go back in and try and soften that. Let's see. I probably waited a little bit too long, but it's still beautiful. So, and this is a small canvas here. I mean, some of that's not going to show. Let me put this over so you can kind of get an idea how that's going to look. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay, so let's see how we're doing here with that black paint. All right, and the rest, because it's going to whoosh right into what we already painted. So we're best off leave that sit to dry, and I'll meet you back here in a few minutes. Everything is dry now, pretty much. And I'm just going to take a small amount of black paint into my tray. Make sure I don't have too much. Right on the tip there. And I'm just going to drag that through where I feel like I need the stems to be. I'll do this one first. I'm going to kind of pull this one around like so. Get a little too much water in that. This one will go sort of like this, I think. Not enough paint on that one. Get some more. Try again. And just touch it and let it lift up, and sort of like a, dashes of paint. This one here, I'm going to go this way, I think, to the bottom. I'm not sure. Depends on how my hand moves when I put it in the paint or on the. And there we are, finished painting. Try to keep things cleaned up so we don't make a mess on our painting. It is so beautiful. And I will sign this with my Micron pen. I think it's a number 2 or 3. When I'm sure this is completely dry. So let's pop that on. Isn't that beautiful how that turned out? I just adore this. Okay, I hope you guys give this a try. It's really quite simple. Drop some paint down, move it around with your clean wet brush, and see what you get. And just make sure you're mixing colors if you're doing more than one color that blend well together. And I hope you give this a try. Let me know in the comment section, if you try to paint a watercolor painting, how it turns out. Just let me know in the comment section. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, check out some of my other videos. I don't think I have any other watercolor paintings because I just started getting back into watercolors. And I'm not really a watercolor artist. This is what I like to do. Sit down and paint, see what happens. Maybe that's not very artsy, but it is to me. So you all have a great day. I will see you in the next video.